Hey there, welcome to the show. It's Les Solgrove. This is week 19, 2024. Just back from Washington, D.C. And man, it was so nice to get back. And a special thank you to Rose Green from Remax Concepts. I received a little thank you card in the mail from her, some very, very nice words. And I really appreciate hearing from all of you and glad that what I do makes a difference for you in your daily business. So thank you again, Rose, for the kind words. And let's get started and see what's happened in the Des Moines and Central Iowa real estate market and how it compares nationally with this special show this week. Okay, so here we go. This is the 2024 NAR Economic Update Show. I do these twice a year, usually, obviously in the springtime after getting back from Washington, D.C. at the NAR Legislative meetings, and then again after getting back from the fall conferences in November. So this is a fun show to do because I have a lot of information from NAR's Chief Economic uh, expert Lawrence Yoon. And for you guys locally, Dr. Yoon will be in Iowa this fall at the Iowa Association of Realtors convention as a keynote speaker. So watch for more information on that as we get closer when registration opens up. Be sure and plan to attend. This is going to be a special conference this fall here, held in Des Moines again. This is the state Iowa Association State Convention. So let's get started here. So jumping right in with information from Dr. Yoon, he started off the session this past week talking about job gains and payroll employment and provided this wonderful map. And it does show that, for the exception of a few spots around the country, Washington, D.C. is one of these spots that's getting a little negative uh, job growth. But for the most part, the United States is seeing positive job growth since pre-COVID. And, right there in the middle, you see Iowa is sitting there right around a 2% increase year over year from the pre-COVID employment. So we're making strides. The big states out here are Texas, Arizona, uh, Idaho is actually up around 12%. Florida 9.8%. So there's some hot spots around the country, and just very, very few states that are having a downturn or at least a slowdown in payroll and employment here. So what this what he liked to show us this time was going back to 1980. This is total payroll jobs, and he's got a couple circles on here. The left circle indicates 1995, and the far right circle indicates today. And you'll see why we're going to talk about 1995 here in a minute. But the box over here on the right-hand side, this is obviously where COVID hit, where we had the economy pretty much, it didn't come to a grinding halt, but it almost did there during COVID-19. But you can kind of see if you draw that trend line all the way across, it looks like things are pretty much right back on track. We're probably a little bit below because you can see we had a little bit of a slowdown there in 2007 after the mortgage meltdown. But really, we're pretty much on track from 2010 on where we should have been, even with COVID in place. So that's kind of a decent sign to take note of. As far as population, again, back to 1995. Since 1995, we've added 70 million more people um, to the United States since 1995. And why is that important? Well, it's basically with more people, we should be selling more homes. And actually, if you look at this chart again that he provided from 1995, well, actually it goes to 81, but 1995 is highlighted. 2023 existing home sales was our worst year since that 1995 date. So 70 million more people, and we've had our worst year as far as existing home sales since 1995, just last year. Don't get too discouraged here because we got some positive signs on the horizon, but it just gives you an idea of some of the challenges that we've seen. The last couple of years with the rising mortgage interest rates, that's been one of the things. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about the buyer pool and the availability and the challenges for first-time home buyers before we end the show. The number of homes for sales. Now, this is a chart that he provided, goes back to 2011, showing inventory of existing homes from 2011 down to all the way to 2024. And obviously, you've seen as we went through those years where mortgage interest rates really were dropping, we were selling more homes than we had on the market. You know, that we didn't have enough homes to meet the demand. So I'm trying to say, and our inventory levels went down. Even after interest rates kind of started going back up a little bit, we saw a little bit of a surge, but we're kind of on the path of increasing back up our inventory levels for existing homes. And this is one of those charts. I did this two or three times in this week's show, tried to basically take the information that Dr. Yoon provided and apply it to our local DMAR, Des Moines Area Association marketplace. So here's the first thing we've done here. Now you're going to see two graphs on here. One is the long-term graph is all homes for sale, inventory levels going back to 2011. So if we go back for a second, you can see, you know, we kind of follow a similar path there from 2011. We had a pretty good drop that year. And then it kind of tailed off, looked like it was going to go back up a little bit in our marketplace around 2020 when COVID hit. And then everything kind of just started going down again as COVID spurred so many home sales. The reason why I don't have this information for existing homes, and it's why I wanted to make sure I have it on here, the light green bar or line is from 2019 forward. That was the first year I started to collect this information on a consistent basis. And so rather than just show you from 2019 forward, I showed you from 2011 all the way up of all homes. So currently we're sitting at 3,115 homes on the market total. That's including new construction, condo townhomes, and existing homes. And of that 3,115, 1,461 of those are existing homes, the resale properties. So you can see we're about half of where half of our inventory right now is existing homes. And the good news is you can kind of see here that we've got a little bit of an uptail going, which we typically do as the spring market goes forward. But we're up even over last year at the same time. So I'm going to predict that we're going to see inventory increase as we continue to move throughout 2024 and 2025 and on here. Another graphic that Dr. Yoon provided us was home price appreciation from pre-COVID era. So again, we're seeing all states everywhere has seen price appreciation. Again, however, you see a couple of the leaders out there, Maine, uh, uh, Montana, Nevada, Tennessee, and Florida are all in the 60% plus range there. Actually, Maine's at 59.7%, but we're seeing some pretty good appreciation. And right dead center here in the middle, we got Iowa showing a 35.8% home appreciation rate from pre-COVID. So again, I wanted to see how does this compare to what our local Des Moines market? So that's the state of Iowa's 35.8, but how does that compare to just Des Moines? So what I did was I started off and I looked at the home price appreciation graphic. I just went from 2016 to 2024 just to try to catch that same general time period. And you can see we're on the rise there. We were seeing pretty steady rise of home price appreciations. And then I said, okay, so COVID obviously hit about March 15th of 2020. And according to the Biden administration, the public health emergency declarations ended on May 11th of last year. So I guess that's technically what I'm going to use as the end of COVID, even though we still have COVID issues out there. It's no longer considered a public health emergency declaration. So from March 15th, 2020 to May 11th of 2023, that's our COVID years. And then I said, okay, well, again, remember that 35.8% from the previous graphic there. So I said, what if I went back pre-COVID, went back to April 30th of 2019 and April 30th of 2024. So that's kind of our pre-COVID and post-COVID marketing area or timelines. And as you can see, the Des Moines market is actually improving that 35.8% by jumping it up to 37.8%. So we're a couple percent higher than the entire state over that period. So our median sale price was 205 back in April of 2019 and 282.5 just as of the end of April here. So that's a pretty decent recovery. But you go, okay, of that, how much of that is really affected by COVID? Well, if you look at the trend line, I dropped a trend line on here, regardless of COVID, and you go back to that 2016, and this is why I wanted to show you that 2016 through 2024. If you look at the trend line, it's pretty much right on track with that 37.8% that we saw from 2019 to 2024. So if you want to look for some positive signs, it looks like our price appreciation, if it was affected, obviously there was a couple of dips there. You see these dips right here in 2021, 2022, and a little bit last year. But we ended up, we're pretty much right on track with where we should have been, even if COVID hadn't existed. So I consider that's a pretty good graphic to look at. So the sky is not necessarily falling. It's just kind of, it may feel that way because we've been used to faster paced business in the last couple of years, but right now I would say we're right on track. So who is the biggest segment of our buying population that's challenged? Obviously, it is the first-time home buyer with such low inventory, especially as I've talked several weeks now in a row, under $400,000 price point. The first-time home buyer is out there not only competing against the largest buyer pool, but you're also, if you're a first-time home buyer, you're also competing against the investor market out there. So especially in that very, very low price point, that is under $200,000 price point, it's just very, very difficult, but not impossible, but very, very difficult to find homes for sale that you're not going to be competing against an investor. So Dr. Yoon provided this graphic, and it's basically, I'll explain it and then I'll show you how I tried to emulate it for our market here. So this is a monthly payment graphic showing what a first-time home buyer putting 10% down and spending, 80% of the median home price would be across there. Now, first of all, before we kind of look at the graphic, why 10% for a first-time home buyer? Well, yeah, granted, most first-time home buyers are putting 5% or less down, at least in our marketplace, but nationally, this is the number that he was using. And why 80% of the median home price? Well, if you think about it, a first-time home buyer is not jumping right into the market and looking for homes where the middle point of the market is. So they're typically buying a little bit underneath that median home price. So the graphic he used, or the analytics he used, was 80% of that median home price to kind of give us a good basis there. And this graphic shows very clearly when mortgage interest rates started to rise, what that did to a first-time home buyer's payment amount. And from 2022 quarter one, it jumped from under $1,500 a month to almost $2,000, and then up in late last year, it jumped well over $2,000 a month. It has been trending down the last 2 or 3 quarters, but I thought, what does this look like for the Des Moines market? Now, keep in mind when I show you this next graphic, mine is not in quarterly breakdowns; it's by year breakdown. So it looks just a little bit different here, but you can kind of get the sign or get the idea here that again, from 2016, see it was pretty steady here from Dr. Yoon's chart all the way to 2022 to ours as well. So there's the Des Moines marketplace. And what I did was I used the median sale price, 80% of the median sale price for these calculations. And before we get into those actual numbers, again, you can kind of see using his exact same scenario, 10% down payment and 80% median home price, that payment as of basically just today, based on our median price of 295, 250. That's our current median sale price. If you take that 80% of that, so this is kind of the price point that using that same scenario, first-time home buyers would be looking at around that 236, 200. And that's not an unrealistic number for a first-time home buyer. I mean, I think in our marketplace, not that many years ago, first-time home buyers were buying under 100,000. Okay, that was a little long time ago. But even in the last 4 or 5 years before the mortgage interest rates really dropped dramatically, they were buying in that 180 to $200,000 price point was kind of the median. And so you can see with 295 as the full median sale price, 236 is a pretty good number to be using. And so if you look at that and you go, okay, well, 1,255.99 compared to, for principal and interest only. Now keep in mind, this doesn't include taxes, it doesn't include insurance. This is $1,255, almost 1,256. as of just this past week, compared to the median price, when prices started to go up and mortgage interest rates started to go up, you combine both of those factors together, and you can see that back prior to 2022, home buyers in our marketplace were spending only about a little over or right at $500 a month for their principal and interest payments. So there's a big squeeze for those first-time home buyers. That's a big change for them, going up by 1.5 times what they were normally paying prior to COVID, and or prior to, I'm sorry, not prior to COVID, but prior to the mortgage interest rates starting to go up, as well as home prices. So I said, okay, well, let's take this one step further. What if, instead of 10% down, we went 5% down? What would that make this chart look like? Because this is 1255. If we put 5% down, obviously the payment's going to be higher, but it's also going to include, and this graphic isn't going to show it, also is going to include a higher private mortgage insurance amount, or a mortgage insurance premium, depending if they're going FHA or conventional. And you know what? Sometimes those first-time home buyers, maybe they're not, don't have the highest credit scores. They still have credit scores that they can buy, but sometimes they have to pay a little bit higher interest rate to get to those home mortgages. So you add those two together, and on top of that, this 1325 is just the 5% down instead of going 10% down. It could conceivably be close to $1,400 a month for the first-time home buyer today, trying to buy that $236,200 house. And then again, you got to add taxes and insurance on top of that. So yeah, there's no wonder that first-time home buyers out there are frustrated, and they're challenged because of the competition. But if you didn't need a realtor before, if you never thought you needed a realtor to buy a home, this is the one time as a home buyer you really need to be working with a real estate professional that can have their pulse on the market and find out, what homes are available out there. So, and to kind of hammer that point home, Dr. Yoon provided this graphic. This is the wealth comparison between owners and renters. And again, going prior to COVID to through 2022 was the most recent data that they had. But just from 2019 to 2022, again, pre-COVID to just nearly, not quite to the end of COVID, even during a pandemic, if you're a homeowner and your, wealth, this is from the Federal Reserve um, survey of consumer finance. If you had a value of a home for 295.5 back in 2019, that value is increased by almost $100,000 just in that short 3-year period there. So owning a home is always going to be a better investment than renting, because you can see the rental comparison of wealth is only 7,300 from 2019 to 10,400. And it's just no doubt that owning real estate, owning your own home, is the fastest pathway to increasing your net worth and your net values. So um, one of the last slides here, this is he also talked about the price cuts. So if you're a home buyer out there and you're working with a realtor, this is absolutely one thing I would be telling them. Hey, let me know when we're looking at homes. I want to see homes that maybe have been on the market a little while. We this past week, and we'll talk about this next week, we saw a large percentage of back on market properties, and we also have been seeing a lot of price reductions this year. And Dr. Yoon provided this graphic showing a breakdown of days on the market versus the price cuts at ultimately price cuts on closing. And I'll explain what the price on pending means here in a second. But you can see that in the different price points or different days on market periods, the price cut starts to grow rather dramatically. So if you have a home that's been on the market over 90 days, on average nationally, we're seeing about almost a little over a 9% price cut at the end of the process. And so what does this center one mean? Well, first of all, days on market, time is a buyer's friend. If you can find something that's in good condition, it's just maybe for whatever reason is not selling, but it's, maybe it's a couple things that it's keeping it from selling. That could be your benefit. That could be to your benefit. You should be able to negotiate a little bit better price off of the property. So this price on pending is the original price reduction percentage. So from the just using that, let's just use 60 to 90 days here. You can see that the typical home buyer nationally was reducing their price by about 6.4, almost 6.5%. And once that goes under contract and closes during the offer portion of the negotiation, they were able to get a little bit more, bringing that total price cut up to 7.9, not 6.4 plus 7.9, but a total of 7.9 or almost 8%. So that just tells you that there are some opportunities out there for you as a home buyer. You know, a brand new home on the market, at least in our market for sure, still demands a higher list price to sale price ratio. You're probably going to be in multiple offer situations. But as you look at homes that are on the market a little bit longer, you're going to start to see that there's some opportunity to maybe do some negotiations down in your offer process there. So, all right, the last slide of the show from this week's meeting in Washington D.C. Dr. Yoon gave his sales forecast. Currently, we're looking to sell about 4.5 million, close about 4.5 million homes nationally from in 2024 and up to 5 million in 2025. His predictions are in the next 10 years, we will have 8 out of the 10 next years will have gains. There's going to be a couple of periods in there as just typical where we might have a year that's off a little bit, but 8 of the next 10 years, he's convinced that we're going to have a pretty steady market moving forward. We'll be out of the, the election this fall. We'll go through another one in that next 10-year period as well. And I think that this is a pretty solid prediction and should give you some good feeling for being in the housing market. So, all right, well, that's pretty much the show this week. Again, thank you for joining me as always. My name's Les Solgrove. This is Des Moines Market Values, market values, and all the graphics and all the slides can be found at DesMoinesMarketValues.com, as well as the videos from each week's show. Do me a favor while you're there, hit that subscribe button, also hit the like button. Would like to get thumbs up on this. This just helps get the analytics out and make sure that I share this with more people. And again, thank you, Rose Green, for your nice card and your token of appreciation. I do appreciate that, and humbled that you consider what I do of value. So if you feel the same way, the best way you can help me out is by sharing this information. It's free. I'm not your competition. Love what I do, and I want to see you all succeed. So with that, we will see you all again next week. Stay safe, be careful, and have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.